ቤት ጣራ ላይ ሆኖ ተኩስ መክፈቱ ይነገራል። የጥይት ጩኸት እስከተሰማበት ጊዜ ድረስ የደህንነትና የፖሊስ አባላት ስለ ጉዳዩ እንቅስቃሴ ምንም አለማወቅ ትልቅ ጥያቄ አስነስቷል። ፕሬዝዳንት ጆ ባይደን በትራምፕ ላይ የተፈጸመውን የግድያ ሙከራም በጽኑ አውግዘዋል። ለእንዲህ
about 450 feet. Ken Delaney and Rahima Ellis, thank you very much. We should also note President said a little while ago that the parents of the shooter are cooperating with police as well. Coming up next, what we're learning about the rifle. Ken just talked about it, that the gunman used, plus what's happening in Milwaukee, where Donald Trump is headed in the next few minutes ahead of the Republican National Convention. We are back in 90 seconds.
The NBC News mobile app. Get connected to your favorite news channels for the top stories, breaking news, and live video. Download the NBC News mobile app now.
More Americans turn to NBC News than any other news organization.
We're talking possibly $1 trillion. Yes, that is a number that is just so hard to compute.
Whether it's the moon, it feels like we're on the cusp of something big.
News lives in the now. It's coming at us every second from all over the world.
We have a full team.
News is more now than ever.
Just outside of the Israeli military headquarters, they're asking that the hostages, demanding that the hostages be released.
Now is raw.
This tunnel just goes on and on and on.
Now is real.
This is it. We get to see democracy in action for the very first time in the 2024 race.
Now is constant.
Morning News Now, we're breaking news.
NBC News special report. You gotta see this.
The future is now. News for the generation of now is NBC News Now.
Closer to the Gaza border. The story of resilience and hope. Please take care of yourself and each other.
There's no place in America for this kind of violence, or any violence for that matter. An assassination attempt is contrary to everything we stand for as a nation, everything. It's not who we are as a nation. It's not America. And we cannot allow this to happen. Unity is the most elusive goal of all, but nothing is important than that right now, unity.
President Biden just in the last hour warning against political violence in this country and instead calling for unity. Joining us now, NBC News White House correspondent Ali Rafa and NBC News congressional correspondent Julie Sirkin. So Ali, an Oval Office address tonight. What might he say more than he's already said, both in the brief statement today, along with the one last night?
Yeah, Katie, well, this was the second time that we've seen the president address the American people since this assassination attempt against his predecessor. And as you mentioned, he said in this speech from the Roosevelt Room earlier today that he's going to be delivering a third address at 8 p.m. tonight from the Oval Office, notably his third address ever from the Oval Office since taking office. And we heard him during these remarks really try to quiet the rumors or the accusations from some Republicans who are saying that the president and Democrats are to blame for this assassination attempt against the former president yesterday. He assured Americans that he will continue to be briefed on the latest developments by the FBI as it continues to lead this investigation. He says it's only in its early stages. He said that he's directed the Secret Service to provide former President Trump with every resource he needs to continue being safe. He ordered an independent review of the shooting in Butler, and he vowed to share the results of that review with the public. We also heard him, of course, echo that forceful condemnation of political violence that we heard him first express in Rehoboth Beach last night, shortly after this shooting. The president echoing that and saying how important unity is during a time like this, with the politics as divisive as they are right now. And he also talked about the briefing he received today. He, along with Vice President Harris, from law enforcement officials, Homeland Security officials, and he also said that he'll continue to be briefed throughout the day. And those updates, those developments that he's expected to receive throughout the day are what we could expect him to brief the American people on at 8 p.m. tonight, Katie.
Capitol Hill?
Well, there's a lot of information swirling about. Certainly, lawmakers are trying to speak to officials. Katie, I'm told, for example, that the Gang of Eight, which is basically the leadership structure of the Capitol, including the heads of the intelligence committees in the House and Senate, have not yet received a briefing collectively. This is in part because lawmakers are scattered around the country. They are on recess during this next week, of course, with the Republican National Convention as well. But also, and more critically, perhaps, is that there is a lack of information. There's not enough information, I'm told by two sources familiar with the situation, to really sit down and thoughtfully brief lawmakers. But that is not stopping many of them from demanding that information. We saw just in the last couple of moments, according to an aide close to Senator Gary Peters, who is the chair of the Democratic-led Senate Homeland Security Committee, that members, that staff will be seeking a briefing with the Homeland Security Committee. They confirmed that they had launched an investigation into this and that next steps could potentially include a hearing in the panel. Peters himself is supposed to talk to Mayorkas later today. That is a conversation that Speaker Mike Johnson of the House had last night as well. And certainly we've seen already in the House under the direction of Johnson, who said that multiple committees will investigate what had happened, what had transpired in this alleged assassination attempt of former President Donald Trump. He already directed the oversight chair, James Comer, to inquire with the U.S. Secret Service. Comer said a hearing with the director of that panel could happen as soon as July 24th. You also saw the Homeland Security Chairman of the House, Mark Green, write a letter to Mayorkas asking them very pointed questions as well. But on the flip side of this, more importantly, as lawmakers try to figure out what had happened here, is the reaction that the rhetoric, the political rhetoric, the escalated violence that we've seen on both sides in the last couple of years, and obviously with this extraordinary situation yesterday, has got to come to an end, has got to tamp down. I want you to take a listen to what both sides had to say today.
We've got to turn the rhetoric down. We've got to turn the temperature down in this country. We need leaders of all parties on both sides to call that out and make sure that happens so that we can go forward and maintain our free society that we all are blessed to have.
What we need as a nation, what a democracy is about, is not radical rhetoric. What it is about is a serious discussion of where we are as a nation and how we go forward. You know, in a certain way, Kristen, politics should be kind of boring.
Well, they're anything but boring, obviously, Katie. I'll add quickly here, the conspiracy theories are floating everywhere here on the right. We've seen several lawmakers tweeting things like Biden was responsible, Democrats were responsible. Obviously, zero evidence of that. And on the other side, you had a staffer for Democratic lawmaker Benny Thompson, who was fired by the office after they had posted expressing disappointment last night that the shooter had missed its target.
Yeah, I can't do that. Julie Sirkin. Julie, thank you very much. Ali Rafa, thank you as well. And as we've been talking about, Donald Trump is about to leave Bedminster to go to Milwaukee for the RNC. What that city is doing to prepare for his arrival. Next.
Hallie, and we are coming on the air tonight with a new development. Let's talk about the implications of health and then the political fallout. Start with what this law actually will and won't do.